Well, first of all, thanks everyone for coming to listen to this. It's super nice. Thanks Margaux and Francesca for making it happen, coming all the way here, stars aligning. Then also thanks to Raf and Enora that are not here for recording and bringing the PA system, but I mean, they will see the recording after with the thank you. And to Audrey and Constanza for like pushing the initiative of creating the group and stuff. So yes, 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 yes. Let's get started. I mean, first I would like to play a song by Francesca to set the mood. No? Yeah, come on. It's my favorite, like, she released this year her album, The Human Web. I loved it, and my favorite song, I will play it. Yeah? Yes. You!
Just as the actor presents upon stage, fellow actors and spectators, to make his entrance, every living thing depends upon a world that solidly appears as the location for its own appearance, on fellow creatures to play with, and on spectators to acknowledge and recognize its existence.
Okay, so that was a part of her song, Mere Appearance and True Being, on her album, The Human Web. Yeah, it goes on. It's awesome. You should definitely listen to that album. So I think, I mean, actually just if you can both introduce yourselves, speak a bit about your life, when did you start making music, how was the relationship to music in your early years, when did you start again, associating with music, just.
That's actually a lot of questions, you know. um, so, so I think I started making music, like you mean like recording albums and publishing albums, or just like playing?
Playing music.
Okay.
Like when you were a kid.
Okay. Yeah. I started playing music, I think, when I was 3 or something. I started with the guitar because my dad is a guitar player, and then I wanted to play flute or so, because like for some reasons, like my dad was actually my teacher when I was a kid, and that relationship didn't quite work out, you know. And so and I've always I've always listened to a lot of classical music as a kid because all my family play music and they're all classical players. So I think I was raised in that kind of strictness, you know, that is like typical of classical music. And you know, for some reasons, I didn't really resonate with that, you know. And so I remember when I was 5, I went to hear this concert of a big band actually that my dad was playing with because he was also playing a bit of jazz. And there was this drummer with curls, you know, that was, you know, he seemed that he was like really enjoying himself while playing. And so I was like, okay, this is, you know, what I want to go for. And I guess like, you know, playing drums and playing, you know, jazz and, you know, pop, rock, or, you know, progressive metal, whatever, kind of allowed me to find my own, you know, my own voice apart from what, you know, the rest of my family was doing, but still remaining connected to that common language that seemed to be, I don't know, working in my family or so, which is music. So yeah, and I felt like very grateful as a kid to have like all that support that you can, you know, that you can have, you know, being born and raised in a music family. But on the other side, you know, there were like a lot of expectations and pressure, and sometimes even like obligation, you know, that I had to face growing up. But yeah, somehow when I started, you know, and I started composing pretty early, I guess like around 14, 15 or something, I felt that, you know, kind of composing music was, you know, the way of bringing something, you know, personal or so into the word or so. So yeah, that's what I guess like kept me going all these years. Yeah.
Yes, hi. My name is Margaux, pianist, composer, arranger. I started when I was about 7. You're a drummer composer, right? Arranger, yes. And yeah, I'm from Brussels, Belgium here. You won't meet a lot of people here from Brussels. It's pretty rare. I'm one of these ones. No, it's true. You know, it's like a, you know, it's a very multicultural city, which is great. So I started when I was 7, classical piano like you know, classical music with my family. You know, we had a piano at home, and then I fell in love with jazz when I was around 12 years old or something. I did all these workshops, summer workshops, AKDT, Jazz au Vert. It was Siena Jazz, you know it. 2 years in a row, and then I was here. You were here too, KCB. And then I went to Berkeley Global Jazz Institute, you too. So we have a lot of things in common. And I think that's it. Yeah?
I mean,
Yeah.
I was asking, I mean, actually, yes, that was very efficient. Great, thank you. And thank you for presenting, because I didn't introduce you, like Margaux, Francesca, of course, everybody. Yeah, I don't know, because I already know, so I assume everybody knows who you are. So about artistic identity, I wanted to talk, and this thing, like you started composing quite early, and I presume you too, I don't remember.
I mean, yeah, like little songs when you're like 10, 12 years old, you try to do some cover songs of the songs you like, and then you're like, oh, maybe I can do one. And then I just gave it up because, I don't know. And then I started again when I was here, around 19, 20 years old, and I really liked it, and I thought it was a great way to just do your own thing. And this is a great thing about this place here. They really encourage anyone to just follow their path and write music, and I think that's a really, really cool conservatory, I think. You know, I had a good time here because of that. They're supporting your...
With Diederik, you were lucky, right?
With Diederik, I was lucky, indeed. So the piano teacher here, yeah.
So I wanted to ask, when did you start writing your music, which you already said. So I would like to know who had been like your greatest mentors and teachers that have really like inspired you and pulled out your musical personality, like you mentioned Diederik, but is there any other like references and mentors?
I guess like yeah, I mean, Stefan for sure. I studied with him for 3 years. But I don't know. I guess like musically speaking, I was like very when I did Siena Jazz, like this workshop that both Margaux and I did. I think you went. We were there 2016, 15. I was there, I think, in 2017. I had this singer and composer and multi-instrumentalist named Jen Shu as a combo and ensemble teacher or something. And I don't know, I've always been interested in kind of like, very complex, compositions and, music in terms of like, from a rhythmical perspective. And she had been playing, by then she played I think for 10 years with Steve Coleman or something, and her music is also pretty complex in terms of rhythm. So yeah, we started playing together, and even now it's nice because like after all these years, like she was like the one who always like wrote recommendation letters for me for anything I did, and she kind of always believed in me, and part of that I think it's because like in the United States, like this thing of mentoring, mentorship, especially like within the women community, women and gender minorities community is very like deeply felt, so I guess like, I don't know, like, yeah, probably she did it for that, and now I had also like the chance to get involved into this like mutual mentorship for musician program that she runs together with this other singer, Sara Serpa. So it's nice that, like they're actually doing some like women and other gender minorities in the jazz community or creative music community. They're actually trying to do something in order to support each other and just like lift each other up.
Maybe create more of a web and of a horizontal way of functioning than more like one at a time coming up. What about you?
Hi. No, I said Diederik. I think it was a person that was very supportive and very cool, and we're playing tomorrow night together. And we're playing tomorrow night together too. Yes. First part is like Diederik and me, piano, 2 pianos. And then second part is Francesca, Pauline Leblanc on trumpet, and Victor Foulon on double bass. And it's gonna be fun. So, Théâtre de Liège, Liège. Take your train, take your car, and come to see us. No, but it starts at 8, and feel free to come. It would be great to see you there. If not, it's okay, next time.
If not, you play on Thursday.
I play on Thursday, Théâtre Marny, 8 p.m. as well. But Diederik, yes, he's a very supportive person. He was there in New York for my first album. He flew to New York to be there in the studio. And then he was also there in May of 2021 for my third project in Brussels. So he's very supportive, and I'm very happy to count him as a friend and a mentor and someone to play music with. So that's it. Danilo Perez. Oh my God. No, so we know the deal. We know the deal. He's interesting, very intense person, very generous, of course, very intelligent, but very, there's a cult. I like to call it a cult. You're gonna post this online? Oh my God! You're gonna post this online. Okay, Danilo, I love you. We love you. But there's no. It's just it's a very intense person, and it's important to just acknowledge this. It's not for everyone to be mentored by Danilo Perez. I think you need a little bit of perspective. Like if you're 18 years old, I'm not sure. It's just, he is crazy. He's going places. He's going everywhere at the same time, and he wants to teach you everything at the same time. And I think you need kind of more of a frame when you're younger, like 18 to 23, you know what I mean? So we both were like 26, 27 when we went to Berkeley. So it was like just a different perspective. But he's great, but it's just, you gotta know what you're getting yourself into.
Sounds like a deal.
Yeah, I'm being honest. He's an amazing musician in person, but he's also very all over the place, and yeah.
Yeah, I went to a concert of him in Ghent, and he directly was like, "You should do the Global Jazz Institute," and I was like, "Okay, who are you?" Yeah, I was so like, long ago, so I didn't know anything. I was like, what? Anyway, so speaking of the Jazz Institute, in that specific master program, you need to do research topic. So you did it more around the eating disorders, and it was a research. And yeah, could you like get us an insight in your research and how? Because I believe the human web is based on this research, right?
Yeah.
Your album. So if you could.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, through that project, I kind of like tried to put together like kind of like part of my my personal story regarding I guess like like eating disorders and psychological disorders, especially for when I was a teenager, together with kind of like the pandemic period that we've lived for the last few years. And so the impact, the negative impact of technology and social media abuse and exposure that was of course like very intense during the pandemic because like we were just like all at home in front of our screens. So yeah, those were kind of the themes that I tackled through my research, and I did it through I guess like lyrics, I guess, were were a way to kind of express some of the the things that I had in mind with the project. I wrote a couple of poems and texts, and then the piece that you played before is actually Claire Parsons speaking at the very beginning, and she's actually reading a text from Hannah Arendt. She's a philosopher, and she wrote this book called Vita Activa, and in the first part she talks about like this like appearance, like this relationship between like appearance and the true being, basically. So like how you appear to people, and so like with all the masks that that we put ourselves on, and in relationship to to what you really are, basically. And I kind of like linked that to social media, in the sense that like when like everybody, in order to acknowledge ourselves, like we need kind of spectators to to see ourselves, because we're all a bit narcissist at the end of the day, right? like we need our other people to confirm part of, but
to see ourselves
from the outside, like you are yourself because like of other people's judgments sometimes, and so like I guess that also like reflected in some ways on the social media situation with like you feel successful when you have a lot of likes or a lot of engagement from people, and so in that period I was just questioning if if that really matters or so, like to kind of define and evaluate like who I am and what I think of myself as a person. Yeah, all that, yeah, that's
thank you for sharing. Yeah, and then did you use, because the last track of the album is called Homebody, and it's I think it's a poem or a book from Rupi Kaur.
Yeah.
You used also her because she also talks a lot about the body and the home, like the relationship we have to our bodies.
Exactly, and also yeah, how as women, like other people perceive our bodies, and all the kind of paradigms and stereotypes, that as a woman you're kind of like requested to be respecting for the society we live in, so having a thin body, having a big butt, or having big boobs, or or being white, because like for like our society is still like being white, being like having a family with kids or something is considered to be cooler than than something else.
That's a super interesting research. I will go back to it from my own research to have a different focus. But what about like your research was more about educational and the power of like with kids. I mean, you organized. You also got this Vocatio grant, 2019, and 18. Sorry.
You're good.
And then, yeah. So and you created this whole summer camp for kids, and that was a bunch of work. So, wow, congrats. But then also so in a part of your global jazz. Sorry, I'm taking a bit of time. You did this composition for strings and that whole more musical part. But then your research was more like the effect of jazz in early stages in kids, like how that could help their personal development, all this kind of stuff. So if you can talk a bit more about this.
Yeah, so after 1 year at the Berklee Global Jazz Institute, which is part of the Berklee College of Music, we have a culminating experience. So we have to talk in front of a lot of people, a lot of our teachers, a lot of our peers, what we've been working on throughout the year, right? So you've been talking about yours. Yeah, my idea was to like do a summer workshop for kids, which I did in 2019, and it's just because I was inspired by the outreach we were doing. You know, like we were going to middle schools, we were going to a lot of places, and in the United States there is a strong culture of music in schools. So they have like a big band rehearsal at 7:15. I was there. Yeah, I was there. I conducted some of these rehearsals. So 7:15 a.m. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just interesting. It's another perspective. Here we have like academy and it's free until you're 18. So we are super lucky. It's just that it takes much more effort from the family. Like if you don't have a parent to just, drive you after school, but you're gonna walk yourself to the academy at 7 years old. You know what I mean? But in the United States, it's great because it's inside the school. So I think there's just more access to music in this way. It's a little bit less elitist because of that. It's just in the school, like you show up like earlier and you have your big band rehearsal before the lesson start. And they're 9 years old and they're playing in a big band. I think that's my opinion. I'm gonna have a judgment about it. I think it's great. I think it's really great, and I think it's just, they have big band, they have vocal groups, they have chamber music, they have all kinds of stuff, and people play instruments from a very early age, and they just keep on being better and better and better. It's just two different systems, but I think music in school is a little bit more democratic and more accessible, So I decided to create a workshop that was completely free because of this grant I received, and everybody could just go and you didn't need to play an instrument, you just can show up and play violin at the end of the week. That's it. It was the vibe was to play together. So there were like 20 kids, and we all play like we just created a big band from scratch. That's it. Brussels 2019.
Yeah, and then now I will play a song in a bit of your last album, Songbook, in which we already spoke about it, that you work a lot with singers and stuff, and staff singers. I would like to know, because that you mentioned this is like a bit of a political choice for you, also like on top of artistic and aesthetic. So if you can dig a bit more into this choice, also of working with like voices, and in your global jazz also with strings and stuff, that it's a bit not really, jazz, but a bit mixture in between jazz and classical arrangement.
Yeah, it's jazz, it's songs, it's music, it's everything at the same time. I think there's a hate on singers, and there's a war on singers, and there is a war on women. That's it. I think people pretend to like singers and like women. I think it's big bullshit. That's what I mean. That's just my opinion, and I don't think there's even here in KCB. Sorry, but no, like it's not happening. The singers are out. The singers are annoying. The singers are divas. The singers are this. You have to change the key. You have to adapt. Of course you have to adapt. These people are going to give you work. They're going to give you the most work you'll ever have. Singers are the shit. They're going to have the most gigs. If you are part of the rhythm section, this is the reality. If you want to work, you should work with singers. I think in music, people connect to singers much more than to instrumental music. people connect to voice. It's the first thing they love. Is the first thing they want to hear. It's just emotional. It's something human. It's the first instrument we actually have. So, and you collaborate with a lot of singers too. So, you know, like, it's just, for me, and I love instrumental music, piano trios, Brad Meldo, Bill Evans, all of these guys, Oscar Peterson, beautiful, beautiful, we love it. But it's just, Oscar Peterson was singing, actually, and Brad Meldo is starting to sing with this Crystal project, which is funny. You know, they all started singing. I mean, at some point, you just gotta be honest and look into yourself, and voice is the main instrument, and the other ones are great too, but standards have lyrics and stories, and if you don't know anything about them, why do you play this music? Right?
Yes. Wow. Okay.
No, I mean, Gerald Clayton knows all the lyrics by heart. They know all the lyrics by heart. It's true. They're not bullshitting you. They know the lyrics. If you don't know the lyrics, you don't know the story. If you don't know the story, how on earth are you going to play it? You know, they really know it.
Yeah.
It's one of the examples, but yeah.
No, thank you. And replying to this, to both of you, I would like to know actually how much jazz tradition has like influenced what you do right now in music, like, because it's quite. I mean, your music is definitely very far away from jazz tradition. So I would like to know, because for sure, like, everything you said is pure truth. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually grow up listening to much jazz. I think I, approached jazz when I was about 14, 15 or something. I grew up listening to a lot of classical music and metal prog music, So I guess that's why, all this interest in rhythm. I guess like studying jazz definitely helped me, shape who I am as an improviser, and giving me, just like the tools to be able to, like, also like technically, I guess like transcribing, whatever kind of solos. Like, I'm not just talking about drummers, but like I've transcribed a lot of Charlie Parker on drums actually. And it's been, a blessing, for my, for just the way, to solo and stuff. I guess like composition-wise, I guess like nowadays I'm more into kind of like studying contemporary classical music stuff, books like how to notate extended techniques on saxophone or something. And actually, like when I was at Berkeley, I studied with this classical composer called Tamar Diazindruk. I studied with her for I think like three semesters actually. And besides her, I also studied with Chris Davis, who's like also a huge influence on me, and she's also super into, like contemporary classical music. And I think like like those like players like herself or like Tayshan Sori or Harry Threadgill, like the people I really look up to are kind of like in that space, which is a bit in between jazz and contemporary classical music nowadays. So yeah, my music, I guess like it's really highly notated. I want to be specific in terms of like what colors is each instrument producing, in terms of like the texture that I want to gain out of the music I write. So I guess like I'm more going into that direction right now, which doesn't mean that I'm resenting my own origins, but it's just what I'm more interested in at the moment, let's say.
Jazz tradition, the influence on you. Bueno, yeah.
Jazz tradition, man, it's a lot of weight to carry. Hundreds of years of history almost. Jazz tradition, yeah, I love it. It's my first love. I mean, ballads, John Coltrane, or the other guy. What's the other guy? John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman. I love singers, obviously, so, jazz tradition is influencing me in any way possible. Broadway music from the 20s. Still now to this day, I listen to a lot of new jazz artists, a lot of vocalists, but a lot of other instrumentalists. Yes, it's a big influence. but I'm not sure I'm playing swing. But I love it. And tomorrow, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a tribute to hard bop from the '60s, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's fire. So I love it. But I'm not gonna play it often. But we're still playing it. So it's still part of my life. Yes.
Yeah, and I should add that by both of us by being in the States so much, like I don't know, at least like for myself, I realized that like the social like the social part of this music, it's like so intertwined with Black American culture that it's something that a white person, like a European person, I don't know, like I'm not able to totally understand it, to be honest, because like we're coming from a different culture, so I feel I'm way more brain than heart, and and something that Danilo always said to me is like, you're playing too much with your brain and not with your belly or something, and that's totally true, because that's I tend to go like very rational, especially like when I compose, when I play, and instead the Afro-American approach is like like jazz is a dance, it was meant to be danced on, so yeah, and yeah, so I guess like we have to cherish this tradition to acknowledge that it's part of like Black American culture, and and as European we will never be able probably to reproduce it as well as like
We bring an accent to it.
Exactly, yeah.
You have an accent. It's like when I talk English, you hear that I'm French speaking, but I can still kind of communicate. Yeah.
Okay. How is it over there? Should I play some songs or we continue? Because I want to talk about music business also.
Let's dig deep.
First the song and then the music business. Okay.
It's gonna be miserable. It's gonna be sad. And you know it.
No money. No money. Yeah. Oh wait. So my favorite song from your album, I kind of tried to guess which one it is. So I did this to Francesca before, and I guessed right.
Really?
Yeah.
There's pressure. Oh my god. There's saxophone on it?
I think not.
cash.
Where's the money?
Yeah. Blah blah blah. So, do you have a manager? I go right in.
No, that's a great question.
You don't. That. I imagine so. And if you if you have a band, like you have Archipiélagos, for instance. I know you work more with like different ensembles, but as a band, is better. No, it should be better to have it should be the thing to have a manager when you have a band, or not. I'm questioning.
I mean, I think I don't know. It depends on people. I think I would be very glad to have someone taking care of all the bullshit I'm doing throughout the day, like 60 emails for one gig. It's serious. It's a real number, and it's amazing. We have to go through this. Like the industry has changed. It's like you are a content creator, composer, arranger, leader, PR, graphic designer, editor, driver, contract maker. No, I mean, you know it. You know the drill. And I think it would be amazing to have a manager to take care of all these very important details. But also the reality of the industry is that there's not a lot of money, and the roles of people are much less defined than 25 years ago because there's less money and there's more people on the stage. Right? I think. And more tasks in general with social media, with like doing trois poiriers on TikTok to promote your shit. For real. I don't TikTok, but I do Instagram very consistently and like intensively. And I know it's very important, and I pay shit to sponsor on Instagram and Facebook. I spend a lot of money on sponsoring content and newsletter and new pictures and new content and new blah blah and new blah blah. And you know it's part of the game, and you can cry about it or you can do it and be cool about it. You know, but there's no way around unless you're 60 years old and you're established since 1985. And you have a huge name and career, and everyone wants to hang with you and play with you and have projects with you. I consider myself from the younger generation that has to go through the changes while they're happening to us. So in 3 years from now, it might be another thing. You never know. It might be metaverse and we're gonna have to whatever. No, for real, we never know what's gonna happen. We are so dependent of this whole algorithm thing, whether we like it or not, and we just have to be on top of it. And like I said, I'm not gonna cry about it. It's the way it is. It's the new way, one of the new ways to promote music and other businesses. It's small businesses. It could be your cup, if you do cups of tea. No, really, like that's it. And if you're not on top of your game, it's just weird. Because where are your new dates? Where are your new music? Where is everything? Why are you not on the platforms? But you can also be, I decided to be a little bit in the game. I know that people decide to be completely out and put everything on Bandcamp, and I respect that because it's a huge commitment as well. To have like this strong opinion, okay, I'm not gonna put anything on the platforms, I'm just gonna go like roots, nothing online, let's just put it on Bandcamp, you know? Sorry, I just got away from the conversation.
But go for it. You go. We're digging it.
Yeah, it's super.
So no manager.
But bueno.
I don't know. I think a manager, I don't know, like it would be cool but scary at the same time, because like I want to be in control, you know, of like my product, what I'm selling, because at the end it's about, you know, selling a product, you know. And I get pretty I don't know, disappointed when like especially for my things, when I cannot do things my way. And that's one of the reasons why I opened a record label, because like
I was gonna ask about
the first experience I had with my first record label was horrible. I hope, you know, the guys from the label are not gonna hear this, but yeah, so yeah, I wanted to be like in total control of, you know, every process of, you know, the release of an album or the booking. And of course, like you gotta put in the work, but yeah, also just like, you know, money wise, like you know, the reality of things is that, you know, a manager costs money, you know, like maybe a booking agency takes normally like the 20% of what you get for a gig, but a manager you actually have to pay, you know, the person. So I don't have the money to do it. So and I guess like, you know, in this like you know, still the stage of like, you know, being an emerging artist, if that's, you know, if that makes sense. there's no market basically. Like I'm talking particularly about Italy here, and you know, like yeah, yeah, they just keep on saying that even like if you want to, you know, find a good booking agency, like here you have Aubergine, right? Like in Italy we have.
I personally don't have it, but
No, here there is, yeah. I think Italy, like, you know, whether you're Enrico Rava, so you're in, you know, all the booking agencies, like, over the country, but if you're just, like, an emerging artist, like, they're not going to get you because you're not going to sell the tickets of, you know, a theater in Milano or whatever. So, yeah, it's a bit shitty. So I guess like and also like another matter is like what kind of music are you actually playing? Is it jazz? Is it traditional? Is it more like towards pop? Or, you know, for the stuff I do, I don't know. I'm not really positive about finding a manager or a booking agency anytime soon. Yeah, and there was something else I want to say. Oh yeah, and also something else to consider is that once you have a booking day agency, like when a festival, like without a booking agency, for example, for your quintet, a festival is paying 2,000 euros or something, you know, 400 each or so, with the taxes and everything included. If you have to add, you know, the agency fee on top of that, those 2,000 become, I don't know, 2,600 or 3,000, you know. And so, of course, like a festival is maybe going to be less likely to call you because, like, you know, when before they were paying you 2,000, now you cost 3,000, and you're still a shitty emerging artist band, you know. So they're going to, you know, be sometimes even less keen on calling you, you know. So sometimes it's just better not to have it.
Thank you. And then how do you do it? I mean, because it is a lot of mental space, and this thing of controlling everything takes away a lot of time of practice and a lot of time of creative process, and this kind of, so it affects the musical practice. And I mean, I've seen you've been touring around, and you've been recording, and you're very active. So when do you do this? Do you put limits to yourself, like, okay, this day a week I'm not going to do shit? I mean, it's kind of sound like a basic question, but I do think it's very important to respect, like, actually, like, that is a job, and that we need to have free time and also creative time. So how do you do to organize tours, but then replies to mail, but then this, do that, like, to be your own manager, basically?
I personally receive emails with capital letters and with urgent as an object. So I feel like I need to answer right away. So there's a lot of pressure, and I'm not really taking time off. I have my phone in my hand, and I try to be as quick as I can, because I know it's demanding. I would never give someone's young an advice like, no, it's okay, take time for yourself, it's cool, reply to them on Friday. No, I mean, I don't know, everything became very like busy and fast and like it's a very intense environment. So because we're doom scrolling every day, the information is constant. So I think it kind of changed people's perspective and mindset, and like, you need to answer this email right now, you know, otherwise you lose the gig, but on the other hand, I'm very appreciative of people who are very quick at responding, because it puts my mind at ease. So I would say I'm a crazy person. That's it. I don't know.
You're just embracing the American way of doing things.
Yes, probably.
You're Americanized like so much right now. Oh my God, you sold your soul.
Oh
to
my
the
God,
devil.
girl! Like, this guy was like hating on me the other night, and I was like,
yeah. I guess like that's something I hated about the States. Like when I was like working at Berkeley, you know, like everybody just like expecting that, you know, me answering emails on Sunday or something. Like that drove me nuts. And I know I would do it, as you said, like I would do it for my own things, you know, but for work, like no way, you know.
but for your own project, you do it.
Yeah, I tend to do it, even if sometimes, like for example, this last 2 weeks ago, I was doing like this composition residency in Georgia, and I was like in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in like close to Atlanta, in a forest, and I had my own studio with a piano inside, and there were bears and coyotes outside. So it was pretty intense, and yeah, it looked like the perfect place for, you know, like an American serial killer to commit a huge crime. There were no lights at night, you know, like you literally had to go out with a torch or something. It was beautiful, you could see the stars and everything, but it was freaking scary. But anyway, like at that time, like I think I put like an auto reply email or something, at least for a week, to say, you know, I'm not there for anybody or something, because I just wanted to take the time to compose. And I guess like something that's been working for me is like, you know, finding, you know, like this like, for example, this residency, doing residencies, for example, like you take 2 weeks of your time to just like compose, and you just do that, and I don't even touch the drum set, and I try to look at my phone as less, you know, as I can, even if of course like you're gonna still respond to the urgent stuff. Yeah, and then there's like this time in which, like, I don't know, now probably in December, like during the holidays, I'm gonna spend like the 2 weeks of Christmas holidays doing booking, you know, doing booking for next summer, you know, because like, you know, when you're between a Christmas lunch and dinner, you know, you just put yourself there and just like do some bookings, and you know, so yeah. And the thing that I haven't figured out yet is like practicing. You know, sometimes like it's, you know, being on the move and on the road all the time, it's been very difficult for me to practice, especially as a drummer, because sometimes I just don't have my kit with me. But yeah, I guess like, you know, at a certain point you just have to trust the process, trust that what you learned in the past is just still there somewhere, and don't question it too much, and just like go with the flow, because otherwise, you know, you're never gonna do it if you stay at home practicing your whole life. So
Great. So, did you ever experience discriminatory situations in the professional environment?
Not at all. For me, it's all birds and clouds. I love it. No, yeah, just today I had an interview this morning, and the guy asked me if I was a dictator as a leader. That's the word he used, a dictator. I was very surprised. This is very odd. If I'm a dictator. I'm not sure. I'm sorry to have. I assume he wouldn't ask this to a man. I don't see him asking to a man coming with his project, "Are you a dictator as a leader?" I cannot believe he asked me this. Are you a dictator? He truly, that was the word. That was, I mean, every time there's shit happening, that it still happens.
they never stop surprising.
Fuck, it's crazy. Are you a dictator? I couldn't believe it. So that was just 2 days, so I guess that answers your question.
What did you reply?
I replied,
Yes.
I just stayed polite because you don't wanna, that's the vicious thing. If you are gonna burn them on the spot, you're just gonna lose your connections, contacts. You have to keep the good vibes no matter what, because this is a very difficult business and everybody knows each other, and you can just be out of the frame in like at any given moment if you start behaving weird and like. No, I didn't say anything to him on the spot like, excuse me, I think it's really inappropriate. Dictator, are you sure of your question? You know, I just said, no, it's okay. They have a lot of space to actually express themselves. I just replied to his answer like normally, but because I don't feel I can truly stand up and talk for real. Because there's going to be consequences for me as a woman for sure. So I'm going to be smiling at this other dude in a festival that asked me for, this is real shit, take a note. I'm coming to Belgium every 6 months or whatever to do projects and stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, you're coming every 6 months, so that's your new period calendar. No, guys and girls and everybody else, I'm not kidding, okay? This is truly fucking shitty. And he said it in front of a lot of professionals, of colleagues, of co-workers. Super awkward. And I was like, no, I didn't say anything. And again, this guy is gonna give me some gigs. He's gonna give me some work. And it's very tricky. I'm not gonna put them on a grill. I cannot do this. So this is the real.
And what about? No, and I was just like wondering because being involved with the Jazz and Gender Justice Institute with at Berkeley, we had a lot of this kind of conversations with Terry, with Terry and Carrington, and she always like talks about kind of like preparing some short answers or because like sometimes like I feel I'm in this kind of situations and even after I've been doing this like for I don't know 20 years or something, and still I get I'm just like I don't know what to say like and sometimes like I think it's what you're saying like you don't want to throw away some opportunities, but sometimes it's also like not being able to say the smart thing, that it's not gonna be preventing you from working with that person ever again, but also like just like finding the right words to say or the smart words to say this is disrespectful, but kind of like it doesn't touch me, or but like in order to let the other person understand that this is not cool, and that you respect his vision or whatever, but this is not cool with you still. So I don't know if you have strategies about it.
No, we need a profound shift of the culture, not only in jazz but in general.
That's why I think it's important to have these kind of communities where we can really talk about these issues, and what you say, find like really strategies, like self-defense kind of mechanisms, where you are being able to say something to let the other person understand, okay, this is not correct, but also not prejudice yourself. Yourself, like not hurt your own interests. So I think it's nice to have start creating communities. I was very inspired by this artist in mutual mentorship, this kind of thing. So, and to have this kind of spaces. So I'm glad you're being so open about this. So thank you.
And I think something that happened to me that was kind of funny was that in July I had to answer to some questions for an interview that never actually came out on Musica Jazz, which is the main jazz magazine in Italy. So there was like this guy. He sent me a bunch of questions. Because like in June I released an album with a trio. It's an all-female trio, just because like we started playing all together in Milano when I did my undergrad. And it was like with the Taiwanese piano player and with a Bulgarian bass player, Victoria and Monique. And this trio is the pianists, and like we were just like co-composing, but for whatever reason this guy like just like and he's one of like the old style kind of dudes in the in the Italian jazz industry, and he started asking like these bullshit questions about like, did you think of marketing reasons when you decided to put together this project, or when you decided to release an album with this all-female trio, or like all this kind of stuff. And sometimes like I just would but it was cool, and I'm actually like more and more I'm asking people to when they interview me to just like send me questions, so that I actually have like the time to process the information and to respond in a way that is not unpolite, but that still kind of makes the point. And so I think in one of this
It's the opposite with me.
yeah, but this is a different and so I think to one of these like dumb questions what I think he was asking about, why did you decide to put together an all female band, and I just responded, why do male decide to put on all male band, it's like meaning, is this even a question? Like, what are we talking about? Is music, the main, the main focus of this interview, or are you just like, gonna keep on, bullshitting about, and the guy actually got pissed, and he texted me on Facebook and saying that he's actually like, like an expert about, women in jazz and society kind of issues, and he's a white man, and like, what are we talking about here? But then politely I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, like, it wasn't something personal, but I just, I just think, like, I was like super chill with him. And he ended up publishing, like, I think half of the interview in August or so, and saying that he would have published the whole thing in October, but he never did.
But he published some notes.
Some, but the questions that were more related to the music, not the ones in which, like, to him I was kind of like responding, just standing up to him or something. When, like I just told him, for me it's like, not really, it's not that it's not a relevant question, but it's something that I just didn't think of, because I'm just hanging and playing with my friends here. So what's special about it,
Can I just, yeah, sure. The all-female thing. Do you ever question an all-male band? You open the programme of Flagey, 95% white male on stage if it's a jazz gig. It's actually better these years, because there's like initiatives there. CVS from Fédération Wallonie-Bruxelles and jazz station signed the CVS agreement, which is amazing. So this is an organization from the FWB that is actually pushing to hire more women, to highlight more women, to just have more women on stage. And venues are signing these agreements to just work towards a more equal kind of environment. But isn't it like crazy that we never question an all-male band on stage, and we always are wondering why there's an all-female band, why there's a female, why, it's insane. This means to me that we're definitely not welcomed. We're not. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's a giant boys club, and shit is hard. Do it. It's a lot of fun, but it's just a giant boys club, and you gotta be super, like, you're just gonna be aware of it. You're gonna be strong. You're gonna eat some shit. And I'm being super honest. It's been more than 10 years, and it's not getting better. I mean, yes, this kind of initiatives from FWB is amazing. So there is progress, but there is institutional progress. There's no community progress, from what I feel, which is a beginning. Institutional progress, like signing agreements and actually working towards this. But like the real progress is stop having questions like, why an all-female? Are you a dictator? That's the real progress, right? That's just, I just enjoy your music, and how was the process of writing it?
Yeah, and I guess like also something that, I don't know, just like before I was talking to you, I mean, like, it's so nice to see just like other drummers, like in the department here. Like, I was always the only one, and I guess like that's the same for you, but but knowing that, it's like some alone people together that can actually, get together and create a community is actually very comforting, And the other thing I'm gonna say is that I guess like it's super important, this thing of, because like sometimes like as a woman, like in the past, and especially before going to the state, I would feel that people would give me opportunities, and sometimes I still feel that, of course, that people would give me opportunities just because I am a woman playing drums, and at first I was like really questioning, this kind of dynamics, like, am I really, deserving this, or exactly. Or are they just like calling me just because they need the female quota in the band or in the project? And you know what? I stopped caring about it because and because it's just like an egoistic vision of the thing. Because like if you're gonna think of like the situation, the gender situation in 50 years, like these policies are super important in order to make the change in 50 years. So like any opportunities that they're gonna give to you, just like take it, because like people need to see more women, gender minorities, ethnic minorities on stage, and just like by seeing you on stage, like so many times, like I was like touring a lot in Latin America this past year. I went to Chile and to Panama twice, and it was insane, like to see like these little girls that were coming to me, and oh my god, it's the first time I see a female drummer playing drums. Like, oh, I didn't know that it was actually a thing, and that somebody can actually be successful and make a living doing this, and that's the same I felt when I was a kid. The first time I ever started with a female drummer was when I went to the States with Terry, and with the Didi Bridgewater's drummer. She was at Tinnen, and that was super important for me, because also as a drummer, I remember like talking to Stefan about I had hips issues, like my body hurt, because of course like we're physically different than men, and it's something that sometimes like you need like somebody like you, to solve certain issues, and to answer certain questions, I think.
Thank you so much for sharing. I wanted to add on top of like take the opportunity, we need to fill the quota, whatever. I strongly believe that if like any women that is like, okay, we want to make it more balanced, we're actively doing this, it's also because it's good musicians and their music is great, So we really need to be aware of this, like it's both, like they wouldn't call you if you are not great, so call you gender, no, so I mean, I was gonna ask how important do you think it is to have references, but you already answered, and I don't know if you have something to add about references. Okay. And now a bit like you were talking about how it's gonna be in 50 years, to have a bit of a dreaming moment. What would be your ideal way of working, a working space where it's maybe more horizontal, where like, I don't know, talking about this answering mails or this urgent live thing, maybe having a thing of like, okay, I have 24 hours to answer to that mail. If right now I'm doing something else, I can leave it for in a bit, and put yourself limits, or understand that the people you work with are in the same mentality. I don't know, I'm throwing ideas, but like also in discriminatory situation or these kind of things, like what would be your, this, I can feel at ease, I feel safe, I feel in a community.
Was the dream that the number of women outcome the number of men for a change? That would be amazing. Imagine a jazz festival, there's 5 dudes. Like the thing that we actually face, we're 5 women out of 75 artists. And then people come to us, I don't know, no, I don't know if it's that important of a dream, but that would be an amazing thing to witness, to be part of this change. I know it's gonna take time, but I don't know. What do you think, Francesca?
Yeah, that's a great, a great point. And also, I think in academia, seeing more women teaching, because how many women?
There's just Natalie.
Yeah,
and it's been 32 years like this. And I'm like,
I hope they're gonna hire you.
Well, we'll see about that. No, but it's more role models, like you said, like when you studied with Terry and.
Yeah, and also something else is like that I've been like really thinking about is like that as women and women and other gender minorities as well. Like I think we have this instinct of survival in this community, so like we as you know, like since we're kids, like we learn how to navigate the industry as it is, and we become like very individualistic, goal oriented, like you know, like we're just like you know dictators. Like sometimes I felt like that a bit, like you know, I have to take you know, like ownership of you know of my thing. I'm doing my thing because like that's what you know people are expecting me to do, because like nobody else is gonna call me to play if I don't have my own project. Like here, when I was here in Brussels, like nobody was calling me. I was like always organizing my own stuff, and sometimes like and I was like giving a lot of opportunities to men, to a lot of like the cool cats that were here in the cities and in the city, and now I'm like, fuck that, you know, they don't deserve it, you know.
They didn't give you back.
They don't get, sometimes they don't give you back, and sometimes they don't even say thank you, you know, even if you're giving them a lot of opportunities, and you feel always like imposter syndrome, like you always feel like you have to, you know, be thankful for, because they're playing with you, you know, and instead you're hiring them, you know. And so like, you know, for the future, I really hope there's gonna be like even more like sense of community within you know women, gender, but even with men, of course, but just like acknowledging that, you know, that we're here, we're doing the work, and so like we gotta be supportive, egoless, and just nicer to each other, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. So now where I was gonna go on. I mean, I wanted to add something, but yeah, it's great. So I'm doing on my side the last thing I would like to touch, and then can be done. And maybe there's some questions around the people present here. I'm doing my own research thingy, and it's more related to the psychological part of the pure practice and the relationship to the instrument. And also, I mean, it also is related to this thing of how you relate to men when you're put in this position, like the boys club, no? And when you're put in this like external position where you have to be thankful while actually you are giving them a job, and all these kind of situations, no? So it's a quite long explanation, but to make long story short, I will try. In the pure musical practice, it requires a lot of concentration with all this, the zone, blah, blah, blah. So as women, when we are, like you spoke about the relationship to the body, how you are seen from the outside, I think women suffer this twice as much because we are objectified all the time. And I feel we adopt way more than men an external point of view, in which we need a lot of approval, this and that, and also like we put ourselves in positions of like object instead of subject, so active and taking decisions. So in a way we are making everything happen, but we still consider we are passive about it, you know? So we have to be thankful. So in the pure practice, have you ever experienced, or when you're concentrated or playing a concert or in a rehearsal, that suddenly you just are not anymore playing there with them, but you're seeing yourself from the outside? Have you ever experienced this? And also, like, do you feel this extra layer has like affected your practice or be part of your development, or do you feel like this body awareness also, like you said with drums, no, it's changing for you, like the physicality and the relationship to your body? How can does this ever have affected your practice and your concentration capacity? Maybe it's a bit of an intense question, but
Do you mean like from, like, by saying like seeing yourself from the outside, do you mean like from a physical perspective, or from like more like starting like trying to put yourself from an outsider perspective to see, you know, like to imagine what other people would be thinking of you playing?
About self-consciousness, for example, like being very self-conscious about what you're saying or what you're playing or what you're doing. Have you ever experienced this, like, or imagine here, for instance, my case, I'm practicing, and this I experienced a lot in the past, and I'm like thinking, oh, who is outside that can hear me? these kind of things. It's an example. Or if you're in a concert, and then suddenly you see the whole stage actually from the outside and yourself, and you are like, whoa, what is this? Like, and then you lose concentration. You're disconnected from the music, and basically, like, you're very like self-conscious because you're not active. You're not a subject in your own body. Wow.
Luckily, not really. Luckily, but I can understand where you're coming from. Like, you're very self-aware of who's gonna listen to me, who's gonna judge me, who's gonna put me in a position of like I'm someone valuable, who's gonna validate me, who's gonna give me value, right? I can relate to that in that sense.
Or someone that is gonna give you value for what you're actually playing, and not for your body. Or like
Forget about it.
this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's still hard. I like to, in this regard of like, for who you are and how you look and how do you play, I always like to play this little game. There's two little games. First, you have to try to name a jazz instrumentalist that doesn't respond to beauty standards. And you're gonna think for a long time. Female. Yeah. So the little game is try to find someone, a female instrumental player in the on the jazz scene that doesn't respond to some beauty standards. Yeah, I mean, no, of all times.
She's not so far from the standard.
Yeah, she's not.
From being a black woman.
She was black, but at the time she was very far from.
Yeah, but maybe someone alive. Someone from today. What?
Well, I have one, but that's not very kind to actually say it out loud.
It's true.
So should I really name this person? Not really. I will not do
But
it.
but do you know what I mean with this kind of question?
Yeah.
Is that there is still, if you want,
I see
Yeah,
someone.
if you
but I
before
can't
opening
name
your
them.
mouth, you gotta respond to some criteria. I think. If you take a look at all the female instrumentalists that are very successful, and I mean by that Esperanza Spalding,
Or Tia Fuller.
Tia Fuller, Diana Krall, she plays piano.
Yeah.
These are beautiful women, attractive women responding to certain beauty standards. Do you know what I mean? So this is just, for me, crazy to still think about this. Before they can open their mouth and say whatever they want to say, they have to respond to a certain standard, like industry requirement. Even in jazz, which would be like, wow, this is the music of like unconventional or rebellion. No, this is bullshit. It's try to think about non-attractive women in the perspective of what society attends from women to look to. You know what I mean? It's just crazy to think about that. This is the core of the problem as well. Men, you can be bald, old, and have all, and you can have a career. Jesus Christ, try to show up 200 kilos, no hair, being a woman, and try to do a career. It's never gonna happen on earth. I'm telling you. You gotta be aware of this shit. I'm sorry, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I've been studying this for a while. I've been doing little statistics here and there. Okay, second game. I like to ask my co-workers, the male musicians, right? To name 5 women that they've been playing with the past years. 5. Singers or other instruments. Could be voice, bass, piano. Performing or being part of a project. Man, they're gonna have a hard time. They're gonna have a hard time. Maybe they can name 1 or 2 singers. So it means the community is very small, and men are not gonna think about you. they're not gonna call you because they're gonna call the boys club before. It's not even, I'm not gonna blame them. It's a basic instinct.
Yeah,
It's a
probably
basic
like
instinct. It's like, yeah, we've been hanging with this dude. He's great. We've been smoking some joints. It's like a bro hang. You have to understand. I'm being honest about my environment. It's a huge bro hang, and you're trying to make something into this bro hang, and it's hard.
Which, on the other hand, I think it could be the same for us women if there were more of those. Because like when I find myself in situation of like all female bands or majority of women, I honestly feel way better.
Definitely,
like
it's fun. It's fun.
It's fun, and there's like not as much judgment. There's like just more support, less of like that testosterone nasty vibe, and and so it's just nicer. So maybe it's really something that comes like from our instinct or so, like to just like relate better to people of our sex or of our gender, if there is a gender,
And here, going back this to I want to mention this double standard, because you're mentioning, okay, you have to look beautiful, this and that, blah blah blah. But then, if a woman is like, I'm playing the game, I want to look amazing on stage, being banned, amazing, I'm fucking sexy, then she's gonna be like, she's using that, and it's gonna be blamed for this, So there is this double standard, like whatever you do, it's wrong.
I'm putting on a dress tomorrow, you won't believe this shit. It's like Oscar shit. And I don't care, it's just fun. It's show business. Not for a quartet, for the other one. No, but like it's show business. People pay to see you. They pay sometimes 25, 30, 35 euros to see you. And you're gonna wear a sweater or what? I don't know, like for me this is just a general question of like respect to people who play to see you. But I mean, it's just show business, it's fun. You're on stage, you're not cooking or whatever, you're on stage.
Yeah,
so just wear whatever you like, whatever you feel.
Yeah,
it's a show, it's okay, you can just go crazy.
Yeah, and you can occupy the space and just feel fucking good in your body, so it's amazing. So, but this can lead to some men to misunderstand it. Like, oh, it's a provocation. Woo, vaya por Dios. So, next question, and this will be the last before opening maybe a more discussion. How do you deal with sexualizing situations where, like, I don't know, you receive a comment, you see that someone is treating you in a way you wouldn't like because you are dressed as you wish? Do you play it as a game? Do you ignore it? I don't know. Do you have any, again, self-defense tools in these kind of situations?
Yeah, I guess so. Sometimes, normally I tend to respond to a provocation with another provocation or so, or another joke or something, like this kind of thing that I said before, and yeah, I remember that once there was an artistic director, a guy. He asked me, why don't you ever wear heels when you play drums, when you perform? And I was like, why don't you introduce us wearing heels? That might be fun, It's, kind of twisting, responding with another question. I think it's something that works, that that doesn't, because also with this kind of topics, before I felt that I would always get super defensive, and getting fucking pissed, and then they have another reason to get back at you because you're a freaking feminist, you cannot even talk with her, she doesn't even take a joke for a joke, because then at the end it's all about joking and making and making fun comments, so instead of getting angry, or I guess it's just better to get back at them, using funny jokes or funny strategies, because I don't feel comfortable not saying anything anymore, because that would would hurt my my you know, like who I am as a person, you know, because like I am a feminist and I'm proud to be, you know. And so like not saying anything and letting and or like just like laugh at you know at certain jokes or something. It's something that I try not to do anymore, even if sometimes like it's the only thing that sometimes like you can do, because like you or like you're in, as you were saying before, you're in social context like with a lot of people, a lot of important people, and so you don't want to play the ass role or something, you know.
But humor is definitely the best technique, I think, to turn it around and make a joke.
I don't have mechanisms. I just cry.
I just cry at night.
Okay.
Oh, and a friend of mine, she uses the shouting in the wardrobe technique. So she gets home, she opens the wardrobe, she puts her face in it, and she starts shouting. And that's pretty liberating too.
I would like to say, just be who you are. You know, just you want to put on a dress. I'm the kind of person, I love to put on a dress, high heels, makeup, the whole game. I love this show business. I think it's a lot of fun. Just be who you are. You want to show up differently. Like, just do your thing, do your music, and you will find your place. I didn't want to sound desperate and miserable. Like it's hard. It is, but like.
I think if you're honest about who you are, and if you're true to yourself, everything is gonna be fine.
And it's just creating awareness about it.
Yeah.
It's important also. So we have 15 more minutes. If there is any questions or more debate to open, the timer is on, but I did not until 8:30. Otherwise, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Okay.
I think you show clearly that you have, in regards to gender, a clear political position as an artist. Do you think you would say you also have political position as an artist in regards to other political fields like capitalism or colonialism or ecology, for example?
No, give me the money. No, I don't know. This is a very good question. But the question is everything connected? I'm not so sure. It's a very good question because I feel like I'm more in the gender issues, like women on stage, women who write, women in the show business, in the music business. But some people want to talk about intersectional battles, right? So like ecofeminism and all of this stuff, for example, that's a really good example. But I'm not so sure I consider myself on all of the fronts. No, I'm not sure. What about you?
I think everything is connected, and in fact, I don't know, when Terry talks about feminism, it's never aside, like it's never separated from capitalism, white supremacy, and all these other topics. So I guess everything is connected, and probably we're a product of capitalism, and also, you know, like I guess gender discrimination and all these kind of things are actually like an historical thing that, you know, we're bringing, you know, like since the church was there probably, and then it's something pretty clear to me, especially like, you know, because I'm coming from the country where, you know, the church is, you know, is freaking settled, you know. So and I think like, you know, the whole, you know, like the whole mental, you know, stereotypes that men created themselves, like, it just came to like this vision that the church imposed to, you know, to people about, you know, like the what women's body were like the devil or something, you know, like back in the Middle Age or, you know, God knows where. But yes, so I think, yeah, as you know, as a feminist, I also have a position on, you know, all these other matters, like, you know, capitalism, racism, and I guess like especially like having lived in the States this last 2 years, like really showed me how like racism is like the systemic base of everything, of like politics, of society, of and so like another even more profound matter is like how like gender minorities like from different ethnical backgrounds deal with these topics, because like we're still like the lucky part of the world.
White female is definitely better than black male.
Yeah,
I mean,
or black female for sure.
black female.
Yeah.
Even black male, I think white is amazing. We're lucky. You don't have to agree. White is on the good side of being white and European is a huge privilege. Even though we suffer from discrimination of being like, I'm going to talk for me. I think white is a huge privilege. And I'm not going to pronounce myself on these matters because I live on one of the most imperialistic places on earth, Los Angeles. I have a car and I'm traveling by plane. So I'm definitely not on the ecology side. So I cannot pronounce myself. If I was very active in the process, it would be legit. Right now it's not legit. But I think it's important, as of course, Yeah, that answers to your question. My reality is not aligned with the ideology. So that would be weird if I say, yeah, of course. And I just flew you 2 days ago, like 9,000 kilometers. It's true.
Some other questions? It's your time to shine.
Share your experience at KCB. How is it going?
Oh yeah, it would be nice to.
It would be nice to hear because I graduated in like 7 years ago. Yeah. Or maybe everything is nice and pretty.
Are you still here?
No, no,
Ah,
I
okay.
finished. But I'm back. I'm doing the accreditation. In the
French
side.
French side.
Not the Dutch one.
Whoa, you're a warrior. Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Wait, a sec. Okay. Well, I guess there is a big component of hard work, but do you feel that the the fact that you were studied in Berkeley that opened you doors and you feel like lucky that maybe some people on upper spheres gave you a hand and allowed you to do what you're doing?
Yes.
And that's I think like, because I'm thinking now a lot about it's not just about talent and hard work, but in a lot of cases
About opportunities.
it's about opportunities and being on the moment, on the place, and like taking them and not hesitating into taking them.
Yeah, and I guess like what worked in the States is that, of course, like here, like you have awesome teachers like Stefan, Diederik, but the reality is that the music business in Europe is just smaller, And once you're at Berkeley, like you get to, I was seeing like Danilo, Giovanni, John Petitucci like every week, So, and having, and especially like as there's like this, this strong idea of like mentorship, especially between women. Like everybody's gonna give you a hand when they can. Women and not women, because I remember that you were mentioning that when you were at Berkeley, there was like this guy Jacob who was like trying to pass you all the gigs that he couldn't make. I think there is like this sense of like support that we don't have. Like in the States, somebody like maybe you're a bit lost in the street, 5 people would stop and ask you, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And instead. Like they say that Americans are way more like individualistic, and I think they're slightly maybe more superficial than we are here in Europe. Like but they are super helpful. Like all the time. Like they do charity. They donate a lot of money to to private foundations or to, the poorest countries. So I don't know, like they can be assholes too, but like the people are nice, like in general, like if somebody can, they will give you a hand, and especially like in this in the frame of this